Coming up in this video, how do I know if I have a spirit guide?
So if you're new, consider subscribing.
Click that bell and you'll be good to go.
For those of you that don't know who the heck we are, I'm Heather.
And I'm David.
.com. So just pretend like we're not on camera publicly announcing weird shit. So
all right, Zen heads, it is time to tag up.
So
for all of our Zen heads in Zen Ed Academy, let us know that you're here with a hashtag ZenHead for life.
And if you're watching live, give us a hashtag live tag.
And if you're watching the replay, hashtag replay fam.
It's David's big moment. What was your first experience with guides, if any? What's the first thing you remember about
any kind of spirit guides or guidance that you had?
My first guide experience is when I had the gopher family that lived under the tree outside my window. And I would go and talk to the gopher family after kindergarten. And I'd be just like, hey, gopher family, what's up? There was a mom and a dad and some multiples of kids. I'm not really sure. I don't remember, but it was like my happy little family that lived under the tree because my family kind of sucked.
You know what? You should also tell them I've got abducted and got dropped off in a family that doesn't belong to me.
I used to feel that way until I kind of realized that I needed to make my own path. And Joseph Campbell, speaking of that, who's, you know, my fave. Did you know that Joseph Campbell died on our wedding anniversary?
Holy
October
moly.
30th?
Yeah, by the way, our wedding anniversary is October 30th, which is Devil's Night.
It is. That's why we're so devilish, or at least instigators. So,
right.
But he said about being on your path. He talked about being on your path, which is totally going off topic here, but it's
which is also totally different than being on somebody else's path. You don't want to do that.
It kind of does tie into what we're going to talk about today is how do I know if I have a guide? Is that we always seek for the answer to our spirituality outside of ourselves, which is good to go explore. And that's good to get ideas and find out what resonates with you. And we were talking about being on a spaceship. And I'm like, what is it what we all like ultimately reach for? What is that ultimate reality? Well, we kind of like look out into the stars and we just can imagine being free in the stars, and we all take different spaceships, right? And like all our spaceships look different, and we eventually all burst through the atmosphere and we're looking at the same universe, but we're in different spaceships. It doesn't matter how we got there. We're all in the stars together. And Joseph Campbell was talking about being on someone else's path. Many of us go through life actually being on somebody else's path. We feel like we're living somebody else's life, even though we're checking all the boxes that they say you're supposed to do. We're like following the right spirit guides. We got the right angels. We got all the right stuff. And he basically said, if you can see your path laid out in front of you step by step, and it's really clear, you know it's not your path. Your own path you make with each new step you make. That's why it's your path. Like someone can tell you, like, here's how you find water. Here's how you field dress a rabbit. Here's how you do this and this. But you're going to find them at different places on your path and in different ways than someone else. So
that is why it's your path. You are making it up as you go along. Welcome to life. You're making shit up as you go along, and you should be. Ori says, okay, briefly, what does that shirt mean? Light body, maybe? So this is, as Darcy said, this is Metatron's cube. And
it's math.
Yeah, it's math. It's sacred geometry. And if you hang out in the center here, this could be your own spaceship.
You could be magical. So
yeah,
they're all just keys, what resonates with you. So for me, I think it's really pretty, but I've never really kind of like meditated for hours and hours on it. But
it gives the conscious mind something to do.
Yeah, Metatron's cube.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds like one of those new age made up names, but actually it's from the Jewish apocryphal scriptures as a name for Ezekiel the prophet. Here's something that might blow your skirt up a little bit. Okay. And this is only because
what kind of party are we having today?
You know what? I'm not trying to shake feathers today because I love the Pleiadians as much as the next person. I think it's a really cool idea and concept and energy. So not many people today know where the whole idea of the Pleiadians kind of started. So it's kind of a popular new age following kind of thing. So, but in the 1970s, where I was really, as a little girl, and I used to have my parents take me to the library all the time because I loved UFOs and I loved outer space and I loved the occult and the ESP. And I was grabbing every book I could from the library. And there were these groups of books by a guy named Billy Myers. And he was from Switzerland. In 1965, got in a train accident with a bus or something and lost an arm. He had a couple kids, lived in Switzerland. So the books were like kind of childlike, and they were like drawings of aliens. They were called Solarians, and they were like pictures of like little flying saucers in the trees. And they were like by today's standards, you can tell they're manufactured, right? So, but it was really cool. And it was like his stories about his son, how the Solarians would come visit. And so he and his son started playing with this idea, a couple kids, of these space beings that would come to, they created a whole mythos around them. And they got really kind of elaborate with their creations. They put out a few books. I don't even know if they're in print anymore. It came out later. He put it out like they were real books. And later his wife came out and said, you know, we made all that. We created this whole thing out of trash can lids, carpet scraps, and photographed him, got really crazy. And then I'm like reading the Pleiadian story, and I'm like, put the dots together. They eventually became called Pleiadians. So they originally, I was like, whoa, 35 years ago, I checked these books out of the library. So after decades of giving the idea energy, so yeah, I'm going somewhere with this. Yeah. So I'm not like backing
Bear with us.
So in my explorations, as I started as an adult, like maybe 12 years ago, I became an adult 12 years ago, looking at different books that people had written. And I came across a book written by someone about the Pleiadians. Great stuff, super, super positive, super great. Played with the energy. I'm like, this is great. It just, you like tunes you into that into the stars.
And it's tangible. You can feel it.
Tangible, feeling it. And then I was like, whoa, this is the same dude that created this thing. So after decades, this was only 35 years ago, right, where I checked these books out of the library. And after decades of giving that idea energy, which he kind of intentionally started, people can relate to it as a way to access that energy of what is ultimately real, just like that, because it's like a shortcut. So,
and Starseed, let us know how you connect to that energy and whether it feels tangible to you. Does the Pleiadian energy feel tangible to you?
So here's the thing was, you know, it didn't take very long, you know, for people to establish that system that he was kind of creating as a really powerful shortcut into that ultimate reality, that what's out there in the stars.
Right. But here is something that is really going to bake your noodle. Is it wrong? Is it wrong because the original idea was kind of manufactured as make-believe with his son? Or did they think that they were making something up, but maybe we're really tapping into a literal group of beings through their imagination?
So that's the thing that I think I want you to wrap your head around is were they imagining like, oh, we're going to create, but they were actually tapping into something that was really there. To look at it from all those places. So I would never say it was totally made up because when we open our minds to using that part of our mind, who knows what you can tap into and what you want to call it. So you can call it whatever you want.
Right. So when we're talking about Pleiadian energy specifically, I remember my first experience tapping into the energy of the Pleiadians or whichever energy it was. And it was shortly after I had started, had received my Reiki attunements and was kind of going through that opening myself. And there were a group of beings that would show up as like my support team. After reading, I had connected them to, you know, long, tall, slender, long arms, kind of bluish. And there was that tangible feeling because every time that they would come in, there were specific markers that let me know consciously, okay, this is that energy and it's here to help. Okay, so I would have this team of Pleiadians that would come in and basically help me out when I was working with somebody on the table. Okay, now, does that mean that I was just making shit up in my head? Or was it a real energy that I was tapping into? Or is it because it's been given so much energy that it has become tangible?
So I'm like looking at it from different perspectives. So I think it's really amazing because I know that energy is real.
Yes.
But our spaceships are different.
Yes.
So in 200 years, will the Pleiadian energy, what we call that, what we've, the form that we've created around it, will that become something else?
Or
so you don't know.
Here's another one. I love the movie The Matrix, okay? The entire trilogy. For me, it's the best complete trilogy in the world as far as movies go. And to me, my speculation is 100 years from now, what is The Matrix going to become? What is Neo going to become? This began as a playful experience between a father and his child, between his kids, okay? And now it's considered a new age religion. It's considered one of the new religions that belongs to a class of alien religions.
Yeah. So in theology, I mean, there's new religions kind of being created all the time as different ways that as we evolve, we relate to this kind of energy in our time period because it's the space age. We know we can get out there. So I think it's really fun and it can expand your mind. But let's get into what we were talking about today.
A little deeper.
We went off on a tangent. So
We love
religious-based
tangents.
explanations for guides is that I'm talking about traditional religious-based explanations, is that they are emissaries from God or for God that keep us all in line or on track. And they are real sentient beings with an individual existence. That's sort of the religious explanation of guides.
They are, according to this explanation, to the religious explanation, they are real sentient beings with an individual existence.
Right. And so there's nothing wrong with that explanation. Yes. And it is the one that most people jump to first. And like as a theologian, I like to see how we believe from time to time, era to era. And there is this sort of, angels are aliens kind of theory, because now we understand more about science and what's out there. So, but not everyone is religious. And of course, those theories don't work for everybody over time, and they can expand beyond one explanation.
So the real question of do you have a guide should be, do you want a guide or do you need a guide?
Because all of these things are there for you to access your guidance, your outer space, your inner space, really.
Yes.
So are you a person? Here's some questions to ask yourself. Because I think if you want a guide, you can have a guide.
Absolutely.
There's so much to call in to you. So,
and you can change and you can evolve those guides over time. So she has.
Are you a person that has really easy access to what they want and knows what they need? Are you that person that just knows it like that? If so, going through the process of having a guide that's personified, you got to sit and tap into your guide. That might actually slow you down.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you have a hard time trusting yourself to make the right decisions, then a guide who is some personified external thing can help you to step outside of your self-doubt and be more clear about your intuition, because this external thing is giving you permission.
So like Joseph Campbell said in that, the quote that I referred to is that it is your path. Right. And the path that if it's laid out before you step by step, it's not your path. So here's another theory that kind of goes beyond that for you to chew on about guides is, let's say that you don't trust yourself. So you establish a connection to a guide, or you want a guide to take you further and to help you through the process. This really helps you. Okay. I know it's been super helpful for me in my journey. Different kinds of guides, like David said, Pleiadians, everything. Just at first you can really sense the guide. Right. It's really powerful. You see them really strongly in your mind and you sense them in a really powerful way. You feel them.
Yes. But after a while, as you begin to trust the process and your intuition and your truth and yourself, that feeling tends to gradually fade and the process itself becomes more automated. So this is a period where you have integrated your guidance.
So there's a couple of reasons this might happen. You might have eliminated a lot of self-doubt. So your vibration is raising up closer to where your guides are, right? So you might actually be vibrating a little closer, so they're not as obvious. Like before you had self-doubt and your guides were like, I'm here. And then you're like, oh, I get it. Then you're you're kind of vibing around
with them.
Right. Since some people actually have a crisis when this happens. And they feel like the guides, whoever the guides are not there anymore. When in fact, the process has gotten much faster, much more efficient. It's like zoom, zoom, zoom. We're a well-oiled machine now.
So it could be that instead of having your guides abandon you, they may have integrated with you.
So in that case, it's not in a case of abandonment. You're having a last minute fear of abandonment pop up, which means work on the fear of abandonment, like we talked about, I think, in a video or two ago.
Right.
And the flip side to this is that some people feel like they were not born with guides. And this is where the idea of this question came from for today.
And maybe that's because they don't use them, or maybe have never met them, or maybe don't even need to meet them, but they think they might be, different or broken, or they just wonder why everybody needs all this when they don't.
And you don't necessarily need it. You maybe just jump to space and you don't need that emissary in between. So there's no wrong way. One theory is that your guides vibrate so close to you and you've been with them for so long, through lifetimes and lifetimes, then unless you step back, you can't sense them. And then David sort of had that experience that he talked about in a video about going through that near-death experience and
being dark and
not sensing anybody there.
Another theory is that your guides are you.
Yeah.
They're just projected, idealized versions of ourselves that represent the archetypes within our consciousness.
Okay, so this goes into the I am that I am theory,
yep.
which is we are all aspects of the same thing. I'm talking to you, you're talking to me, namaste, all that, motherfucker, namaste, motherfucker. All of that stuff that we talk about as theory is like we're in this world where forms are separate, but on the other side, forms are not separate. It's beyond duality. So we're projecting idealized versions of ourselves to reflect back to us our higher self, our higher wisdom. So all of these are theories that can work for you. And there's no one right way.
Right. And use what works for you and let go of the stuff that doesn't. If someone's third eye isn't open, should they contact spirit guides? Whatever you feel like doing. Okay. Who's to say that your third eye isn't open? First off, third eye gives you discernment, right? Discernment gives you discernment. Third eye is simply a mechanism for you to tap into your intuition, to trust yourself a little bit better.
So it's the third eye, I think unless you're dead, your third eye is not totally closed because it does have other functions other than what we typically think as psychic mediumship type information or seeing gods on the other side. The third eye is also about analytical thought and higher brain functions and all that kind of stuff. And intellect. So there's a lot more to the third eye. So I don't think anybody's is ever totally closed. It's just that you might not be tuning into something like that. So I don't think there's any harm in it. I think whenever there's a fear around something, then that's
address the fear.
Address the
fear. Work on the fear. So Blazing Turtle, my first experience with guides was when I was visiting a spiritual healing center. The facilitator led us through an exercise where we imagined creating a peaceful environment. It could also be a favorite place that we visited in the past. We were then asked to imagine someone visiting us, describing what they look like. Then we imagined they gave us a gift. In my case, and to my surprise, I had 3 visiting me. The gift one of them gave me was a medal to award me for my spiritual progress.
Cool.
Whether it was all purely imagination or not, I enjoyed the experience and it felt like someone really cared. Okay, that's the significant part. It doesn't matter how the message is delivered. What matters is that is what you needed in that moment, and that was the gift that was given to you. Okay, we walk a lot of our clients through different scenarios like that or situations like that, and it surprises me how easy the mind creates something for somebody to receive exactly what they need in that moment. Whether it's real or whether it's imagined, it doesn't matter. What does matter is the result of the process, getting what you need in that moment or getting what you feel like you need in that moment.
The reality is within you.
And nobody can tell you different. Victorious Reed said, my spirit guide is very controlling.
Sometimes they can be pushy. Right?
Okay, yeah. So explain that a little bit more in detail because there might be a little bit more to that, but explain that controlling in a little bit more detail. Michael Liberty says, my spirit guides are awesome, always with me and point me in the right direction. Love them. I call them my spirit family.
I think that's
awesome.
Super cool. But I give you a little bit of example of, when we went through all of our craniosacral therapy trainings 10 years ago, David and I, they had this a process for working with a client, which is to help them find a guide, externalize a guide called their inner wisdom. They made it very secular, because you don't want to step on people's belief system. So finding the client's inner wisdom, having the client on the table access their inner wisdom guide. What does that look like? Their inner physician is another term they use. So having them kind of personify that actually helped find the place where they were stuck in the body, in the whatever. And they were talking about how John Upledger, who was the osteopath that created craniosacral therapy, would imagine his guide, his inner wisdom that he created was actually Mr. Peanut. If you remember Mr. Peanut with the little cane that was like ding, 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 ding. He would imagine it going up the person's spine with the little Mr. Peanut's little thing, and Mr. Peanut would stop on the place in the spine where there was a blockage. And so that was his guide to get him to the blockage. So it kind of got him out of his way of like sensing and knowing through the hands where the blockage was. And he would be right. It would just take him straight to where the actual physical blockage was in the spine. So mine, when we did that exercise in class, was Carl Jung, which totally fits for me. He was like this in this big overstuffed leather chair smoking a stogie. So that was really fun for me because I love Carl Jung. So
I wanted to touch on Victorious Reed. He controls everything. Everything has to go his way. So then the question to me is, yeah, do you need that type of guidance? Do you need for that to come in that way?
Right.
Or do you want a healthier role model, a healthier guide? Because you don't have to be stuck to one. You can always evolve.
You do have choices.
If you don't like the way that some spirit or guide or spirit guide is coming in, level up. Level up. There's nothing to say that you cannot level up. The question is, do you have a guide? So do you have a guide? First, what do you need guidance with?
That would be the first question. Like,
Okay.
what am I needing guidance with?
Then allow that guide to appear. It is as simple as that. Okay. Matter of fact, bonus, if you guys want to stick with me, I'll do, yeah?
You're going to do
Heck yeah, I'm going to do a little guide connection for you guys right now.
Oh, David never does these things outside of
Zen Academy.
But flashback to my gopher family that I was talking about in the
that.
beginning. So for me, I was 4 or 5 and I wasn't asking the question to the universe. I wasn't asking, hey, I need something to help me through this rough kind of emotionally turbulent family situation. It just kind of showed up for me. It was like, well, here's this gopher family. I'm going to hang out because they're a good family. And I felt like that as a little girl was guiding me to what my inner knowing, what I understood what a loving family should feel like. So it sort of was a little gentle guidance in a very fun, playful way that a kid would understand about, you know, what I want that to feel like for me. You know what I mean?
To me, what that does is basically puts little keys that you need on your path. And when you're ready to unlock that particular door, that essence of whatever it is that you need, that thing has been put there for you to access it when you're ready for it. So for Heather to connect to that family and what a family is supposed to feel like, that energy was waiting, even though she had mostly a dysfunctional family. Same thing with me. I had several different pivotal moments in my life where that energy was put in place so that I could unlock it when I was ready. Okay, so I want to know from you guys, who wants to do a spirit guide connection right here on this live today?
Blazing Trail, so you're saying that guides are a construct from our minds, or are they separate entities?
We're not answering that question. We're posing the question.
I think they can be both.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't think there's a hard and fast. I think they can be both.
Or it could be that it's a construct of your mind to connect to a real energy.
Right.
Or it's a real energy that comes up as a construct in your mind.
These are the things you got to be, you know what I mean? Because I think sometimes like Mr. Peanut for Up Ledger, that could have been a construct of his mind. And something else like my gopher friends, those could be like my real spirit guides, like being it, you know, so I think that it can be both, but what is it that you need?
What do you need guidance with, and how does that guidance come in for you? Does it feel like it's helping or harming you?
Right.
Okay. If it feels like it's harming, level up. Let go of this guy, bring in another guy. So for anybody who has done this with me before, you know how this goes. And for everybody else, I want you to give yourself the freedom to play, pretend, and imagine. There is a wonderful part inside of your mind that already knows what you need, how to access it, and what journey to take you on. Wherever that part inside of your mind takes you, it's going to be perfect for you. Now I want you to bring your attention to your breathing. With every breath, relaxing, releasing, letting go. Letting any and all of the thoughts of your day come on in and drift on by like a bird or a cloud in the sky, drifting further and further with every breath. Feeling any of that weight of the world you've been carrying on your shoulders melting away, more and more with every breath from this moment forward. And then imagining yourself now stepping into your most perfect place. This is a place where you are absolutely safe and secure, a place where you are fully connected to what is right for you. And imagine in this most perfect place, calling in your personal spirit guide. And I want you to notice who shows up, male, female, tall, short, or medium, the color of their hair, the color of their eyes. Let that part inside of your mind play, pretend, and imagine like a child. And then I want you to just to clarify, ask the question, are you my spirit guide? And I want you to notice the response. And once you get a yes, I want you to take a moment and just have a conversation with them. Meanwhile, for anybody who got anything other than a yes, I want you to swipe left. And I want you to call in a different spirit guide, somebody that is perfect for you. Notice as that guide comes in, whether they are tall, short, or medium, the color of their hair, the color of their eyes. And then once again, I want you to ask, just to clarify, are you my spirit guides? And when you get that yes, and just keep doing this if you need to, when you get that yes, I want you now to ask for a name and let that spirit guide give you a name. And keep in mind, this name can always change later. Notice what name it is today. And then I want you to notice the gift that your guide has brought for you today. This may be a piece of wisdom. It may be an object that unlocks something inside of you. I don't know what your gift is, but your spirit guide does. So take a moment and allow yourself the freedom to receive this gift. And I want you to notice what this gift unlocks inside of you right here and right now. Maybe it's self-worth. Maybe it's realizing how powerful and how amazing you already are. Whatever that gift is, let it be the key to unlock exactly what you need right here and right now. Because that part inside of your mind that already knows you, knows what you need today. So allow that part to unlock that piece inside of you that you need. And then I want you to thank your guide for showing themselves to you, for sharing themselves with you, for being there for you. And then I want you to let them bring up to the surface of your conscious mind one of the first memories in this life when they were trying to communicate with you. Going all the way back through space and time to a specific memory for you. Notice that memory. Notice whether you were indoors or outdoors, whether it was daytime or nighttime. And then I want you to notice what it is that that guide was trying to tell you way back then. Let that story come into your mind. Let that emotion or feeling come into your mind that you need. Whatever it is that you need from that story. And then I want you to take a moment and realize how amazing it might feel to realize that you have never really been alone, even when you thought you were. Because throughout all of space and time, this guide has been there with you, whether you are aware of them or not. And their entire purpose has been to help you to learn and to grow, to become an even better person every single day. So I want you to bring that awareness back with you, back to present state, present time. Bring that feeling back with you to present state, present time. And opening your eyes when you're ready.
Wow. Blazing Turtle, sorry, I'm a slow phone typer, didn't mean it. So,
Okay.
You know, have we seen Doctor Strange about 5 times?
Yes.
Hello, that's like, David is Doctor Strange. If he were to be any Marvel character, I would say he would be Doctor Strange, and I think I would be Black Widow.
I can dig that. I can dig both of that.
Because I like her, like
snarkiness.
I like her snarkiness, but I like that she's sassy. And I also like that she's all about like getting into the head and analyzing motivations. Mm-hmm. That's why I like her. Yeah. I also like Wonder Woman. But I saw Katsu Jinkin, who is the tattoos on my arms. Basically, it's a Zen Buddhist
sword philosophy.
Sword philosophy that means basically, translated into the English, it's to live by the sword, die by the sword. But in the philosophy part, the esoteric meaning, it's to cut away the ego and to heal.
Cut away the bullshit to see the real shit.
And basically. To heal wrong processes. So it has a deeper meaning in Zen Buddhism. And it was created by the Zen swordsman of the 12th century. So I had it when I I started my healing journey as a professional. I had them tattooed on my arms,
Mhm.
you know, because this is my instrument. So
This is actually our wedding ring.
yeah, kind of when we met, we had these. So basically, I had it because one guy that came in for me when I kind of started working as a healer with people 11 years ago with David. Basically, a guy that came in for me, her name was Katsujinkin, which is part of this name.
And she was, when she had come in, she was the bone healer.
She was like, I heard a name, I'm the bone healer in my head. And about Blazing Turtle, I hope she's real because I want to meet her someday because she's badass. She had like black dreads and she was like really badass and she had swords and she was like, we're going in. We're going to like find the issues and heal them. And so she really resonated with me. And sometimes she shows up sort of Kuan Yin-ish. That's her like evening wear. But for the most of the time, she's like, foom, foom, let's go.
How did that go for you guys? Let us know in the comments what you received, any kind of gifts, any kind of experience.
You guys, if you have any insider stuff that you want to know about, let us know in the comments. We do love to hear from you.
For more live hangouts, behind the scenes secrets, and mind hacking pro tips,
be sure to subscribe
and click the bell to turn notifications on
so you're the first to know
when we drop a new video.
David, ladies and gentlemen,
we know that time is a valuable and precious resource, and the fact that you guys have chosen to spend that with us, most importantly with yourselves, leveling up your skills, taking your life to a whole new level, we absolutely honor and appreciate that. Thank you guys for joining us, and we will catch you in the next video.
See you in the next video, guys. Mwah. Thanks for hanging out.